Hello, Shane Willis. Welcome to this week's How's the Market, Pensacola. As you can tell, I'm not in the studio this week. I've got a ton of clients coming into town. We've got a ton of people looking at houses. So I had to shoot this before I even got started today. I've got something like 7 houses I'm showing today, 10 tomorrow. So a bunch of different clients. So it goes to show there's some buyers out there. I wanted to remind everyone before we got started, though, don't forget this weekend, this upcoming weekend, August 2nd through the 5th. I think I saw something even said the 6th, but let's just say Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It is tax-free weekend. That's the back to school stuff. For those of you who don't know, this is the first time you're watching it in this area, Florida has a tax-free weekend for back to school. So they're not going to charge tax on a lot of items. Some of those, I think, even include computers up to a certain price. So you're getting laptops for college or something like that. This is a good weekend to do it. I know I usually pick up some necessity clothing this weekend, just a bunch of other things, so we can pick that stuff up. And you won't pay any taxes on it. So there's the tax advice for the weekend. But we're not going here to talk about taxes today. We're talking about the data on real estate. Let's go.
I'm a man on a mission.
My mission is to help people break through all the noise out there and
Don't need no permission.
I want to help you get to actual truth.
On a mission.
Don't you just want the truth?
All right, so I'm going to take you to a slide right now. I always start off with a slide. Some people say, Shane, you start with the same slide every week. We watch it every week, but the new folks have not seen it. They don't know this basis. I'll start off with a slide every week just so we understand what we're talking about through the rest of the show. If you have between 6 and 7 months worth of inventory, it's considered a neutral market. All right. Anything greater than 7 months is considered a buyer's market. Anything less than 6 months is considered a seller's market. Now, what the slide doesn't show is if you have anything less than 3 months inventory, that's considered a hyper seller's market. And if you have anything more than 9 months inventory, it's considered a hyper buyer's market. Why are those important? Well, we jump back over to the screen. If you actually look, this is Escambia County this week. If you look here on the right hand side, that's the month's inventory. So as you notice, as we go up in price points, we have all three. We have a hyper sellers, we have a sellers, we have a neutral, we have hyper buyers. So again, like I say every week, I feel like I'm a talking horse. Talking horse? I don't think it's a talking horse. I can't say the words right now. I need more coffee. It is early, but I feel like I say the same thing over and over again. Maybe a parrot's what I'm thinking of. Um, I get aggravated when people say, "Hey, is it a buyer's market, a seller's market?" and the agent answers one or the other. It really is both. It really kind of depends on what you're wanting to do. So let's go over these numbers while I sip my coffee. If you look in Escambia County, anything under 300,000 looks like anything under 300,000 is a hyper seller's market right now. There are buyers out there, and there's not as much inventory. Now that this I want to clarify this as well. Between 150 and 200,000, there's 155 properties. So you got 168 people looking in that area. So there's only 1.4 months worth of inventory. There are buyers. Two of my buyers that I'm showing this week are in this area. All right, there's 155 properties, but their days on market are a little shorter than some of the others. Okay, and with that many people buying, if we don't add to the inventory, we will be out of that inventory by the end of September, by the middle of September, I guess. So that's what that means. It is a hyper seller's market, which means as a seller, you can be aggressive with pricing. As a buyer, you need to be prepared to pay value, if not slightly more, especially if you're asking for some concessions and stuff back. So anything under 300,000 is considered a hyper seller's market. Anything under 400,000 in Escambia County, we're going to call it a seller's market. I'm going to bump the 4 to 450 to a neutral. It calls it a seller, so it's slightly skewed to the seller side, but you're really getting close to that 6 months inventory. So if I started marketing something, if you got something and I started marketing it around the 425, 430 mark, then I'm going to market that as a neutral property, and that changes our marketing screen. If I go with sellers, I've got one battle plan. If I've got a hyper sellers, I've got another battle plan with options inside of each battle plan. That one I'm going to call it neutral. As a matter of fact, I'm going to call everything from 400 to 650 a neutral. And I want you to know, if you've watched the show, this is what I'm glad to see. This 450 to 500 used to be a strange pocket for us. It was a weird pocket. I seen this thing creep up to about 14 months, and then this would stay back down to a neutral. So this one would become a high for buyers, and this one's a neutral. Okay, so I'm glad to see that it's come back down to a neutral, because this is the normal scheme that we're supposed to see when it comes to any market. You normally see a hyper sellers, then a sellers, and then a neutral. And sometimes you see a buyers and a hyper buyers. We seem to be jumping from neutral to a hyper buyers. And that's at 650 plus. So any of your luxury properties are still there, with Escambia County's 700,000 plus, having 98 properties. But the appetite's not that strong for that. So that's 15.1 months worth of inventory on that. Again, we've got properties here. It's just a matter of is the appetite matching the properties? So even in that 1 to 150 mark, where you got 155 active properties, well, if you've got 148 under contract and people still looking, mm, the appetite is strong for it. That's what makes it a hyper sellers market. And please, I give this data to you every week so that you understand how to attack the game plan when you're going to look in that particular price point. If your pre-approval says 200,000 and you're looking in Escambia or Santa Rosa County, which I'm fixing to show you here in a second, you need to understand that price point is a hyper sellers market, and we've got to be aggressive. There are some properties, but we're going to have to move, and we're going to have to be aggressive. That game plan that I talked about, that battle plan, not only is for sellers. I have a different battle plan for buyers looking in those price points. So, all right, let's jump over to Santa Rosa County now. Hey, this one's funny. The 0 to 50. We've always had like one. Now we've got two. We've got a whopping two properties. So we're almost up to a month's inventory. I'm willing to bet those are lots. I hadn't looked them up, but I'm willing to bet those are lots. And if you look here, it looks like the 3 to 350 is over 3 months worth of inventory. So it does that hyper sellers to a sellers. But I know this price point is also between 250 and 350. I know in Santa Rosa County has a high concentration of new builds. And new builds sometimes will weigh down on the market, but what they do is they'll put a property, which is a model for that floor plan, onto the MLS, which is where this gets pulls its data. And well, they don't sell that house. You come look, and they sell 123 Banana Street, but 123 Main Street, which is what their model is the one that's in the MLS. So I think that's probably what's pulling this up a little bit. So in my mind, I would say almost everything up to, we'll go 400. Under 400 in Santa Rosa County is a hyper sellers market, period. 400 to 500 is a seller's market. You got 3.8 and 4.7. I was going to say this is a hyper sellers at 3.8, but now you're creeping up enough to 4. We'll just call it a seller's market. So I would change out of that ultra aggressive to just aggressive. 5 to 600 neutral, with actually, you know what, 5 to 550 we'd call it neutral. This is a little higher. I wouldn't call the 550 to 600 neutral. I would call that a buyer's market. And 600 to 700 is a hyper buyer's market. All right. These, if you're selling in this price point, you've really got to differentiate. If you're buying, you can be a little more aggressive with your contract. And 700 plus, 7.1 months worth of inventory. If you remember in Escambia County, that was what, 2 years. So that's interesting. We just don't have as many properties, because I want to say there was 90 something in Escambia County, and this is half that, if well, more than half that off. So it's 7.1 because we got 13 of them under contract. It's probably going to be some of your waterfronts that are pretty nice. Anyways, that's the numbers for this week. Don't forget tax-free weekend. Now, do me a favor. If I brought any value to you at all, these numbers brought you any value to you, like it, comment, share, like the Facebook page, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and then give me a comment. Tell me what you want me to talk about on these episodes, because I've been thinking about adding a few other things, but I was wanting to get some feedback from you guys. So is there something else you want me to talk about on these episodes? And finally, if you plan on doing anything in real estate in the next 12 months at all, whether it's renting out something, buying something, selling something. If you plan on doing anything in the next 12 months, all the way up to past 4th of July of next year, call me, reach out, let's talk. Let's run through your options. You've got a lot of them right now, especially if you're that far out. I think I've said it the last couple of weeks. I've been getting more phone calls talking about spring. There seemed to be about 3 or 4 years ago, I apparently sold a ton of military houses because I've been a lot of my clients call me up saying, "Hey, listen, I got orders for spring," um, and they haven't even necessarily been calling me as much. I'm doing a client appreciation event, so I've been calling them, going to invite them to our exclusive client appreciation event, and they're like, "Hey, yes, we would love to come. That's going to be fun. It sounds like a blast. It is going to be a blast." Here's a hint. So my clients are actually going to be the first ones to see it. It's going to be a blast. But the conversation goes into, hey, that does sound fun. Listen, I've been told I'm getting orders in spring. So what do we need to start talking about now? And those are good conversations to have. If you've got some people moving out and all of a sudden you're thinking about downsizing, I've got some empty nesters happening saying, hey, listen, our youngest is going to be going to college next summer. They're going to be going off to college, so we don't need this big of a house. Okay, that conversation's happening now. I've also had the other conversation going, Shane, we have a 3-2. We've got 2 kids. Well, we just found out we're pregnant. We need a bigger house. Now, that's probably going to be earlier than spring, but it may not. I don't know. We're probably talking about homesteaded properties, making sure we get it before spring, before December 31st, so you can homestead it next year and get those tax benefits as well. So lots of conversations. If you're considering anything, give me a call. Okay, let's talk. Shoot me a message inside of YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, wherever. I'm usually pretty good about that. And we will go from there. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Have a great week.
I'm a man on a mission.
My mission is to help people break through all the noise out there, and
Don't need no permission.
I want to help you get to actual truth. Don't you just want the truth?